Okay, so what I'm here to do right now, taking advantage of the available light, I've got the greatest softbox that nature can provide outside, snow and an overcast sky. So what I'm here to do is basically, I really hate doing this, weigh in on the Apple iPad recently announced. Like I said, I feel obliged to review it because, as in my other reviews, I'm trying to focus on items, media, that don't fit proper categories or, as Steve Jobs has insisted, create a whole new category, which he claims the iPad fits into, even though it doesn't. Obviously I don't have an iPad. I wasn't present at a hands-on demonstration, but I don't have to. I had something very similar to an iPad once upon a time. It was the Nokia N810, which was their internet tablet. It was about maybe half the size of an iPad, but in every way, nearly every way, just like it. It had a slide-out keyboard, but even that was a new addition. The original N800 was just a touchscreen. It was about the size of an iPod Touch, maybe a little bit bigger. It ran a Linux-based operating system, had Wi-Fi, had Bluetooth. I could link it to my cell phone and browse the web that way. It even had a little webcam in it. So here was a device that predates the iPad by years, and it does more things. The difference is it's just not Apple. It doesn't have that Apple factor. And let me back up a little bit. I am not an Apple hater. I'm not a Mac basher. I grew up in an Apple household. We had a 2GS as our first computer. Then we went on to a 2SI. I think it was a 2SI. And then, in 2000, we got our Bondi Blue iMac with DVD burner, or not a DVD burner, DVD drive, and iMovie, so that was a new thing. And I had that thing all through college. And yeah, I liked it. I loved AppleWorks. But yeah, then in about 2005, I decided I wanted to edit more videos, and I was a little unhappy with iMovie. I also just wanted an upgrade in general, but Macs were too expensive, so I bought a PC, and I've used a PC ever since, until recently I started using Linux. So yeah, I am platform agnostic. I don't care what platform people use. I really don't. I think the arguments about it are stupid. They all have strengths and weaknesses. But to that end, my feelings about Apple are that if you were to turn Apple into a person, if you were to do like the Mac and PC commercials and stand Apple next to PC, Windows, next to Linux, maybe not Linux, but I couldn't tell them apart is what I'm trying to get to. I think Apple is just as guilty of Microsoft of being an evil conglomerate monopoly that has no respect for its user base and treats its audiences like sheep. And that's what Apple's doing now with the iPad, because in a way, this is kind of what happened with the Mac Mini. When the Mac Mini came out, everyone thought, okay, they're finally admitting that they can't compete with Dell or Gateway, because Dell was offering PCs for like $400 at that point that were technically equal, if not superior, to similarly priced eMacs or iMacs at the time. So when Apple said, okay, we're going to make a low-budget or a low-end PC that runs less than $400 or $500, but of course, Apple being Apple, can't just do that. They can't just give in and say, okay, we're going to make a cheap home computer. No. They had to make a small computer, so you get the Mac Mini. And I like the Mac Mini. I'd kind of like to get one someday. But that's just it about Apple. There is nothing, and this is how I felt about the iPhone. There is nothing, well, not really the iPhone, but the iPod. There's nothing remotely innovative about iPods, and they're not even that original. There are better MP3 players out there. The difference is they're not cool like the Apple. They don't have that slick user interface. It's not innovative. It's just unique. And that's what we have with the iPad. They just took the iPod Touch and made it bigger. And what kills me about the iPad, what I just don't get, and maybe this goes back to the whole Mac Mini thing of they can't just give in. They can't just Apple can't just make a netbook. They have to make a specialized, they have to build their own category in order to hide themselves from criticism. A little like what Sony did with mini disc. They're trying to put themselves beyond reproach by saying that this thing is not a netbook. It's not like those $300 or $400 HP and Dell netbooks that you see, and it's above smartphones like PDAs and Blackberries. But it's a lie. And the evidence in the lie is that instead of creating a proprietary operating system, all they've really done is transplanted the iPhone and iPod's OS. And like I said, that's what killed me when I first heard about it. Oh, they're making a tablet computer. Great, cool. And then I find out it's not running Mac OS X or Snow Leopard or Chitara, whatever big cat they're naming their system after now. I don't keep track of it. But it doesn't run OS X. It runs the iPhone operating system. And I just think, what a waste. Why not? So that's my feeling about the iPad. It's not new, it's not innovative, it's a big iPod Touch with a useless operating system that is going to be... this might mark a turning point in Apple's product line, where for once the Midas Touch has failed them. You know, like Apple really had that feeling where like everything they couldn't do wrong. Like I said, the Mac Mini. You know, they couldn't just make a conventional low-end $400 or $500 PC. They had to take one and make it tiny and cute. Kind of like with the G4 Cube. They couldn't make a proper tower. I mean, they kind of did with the G3s, but still, they wanted to prove that, you know, we're Apple, we can be unique. So, even though the G4 Cube was just the next Cube, but better. So, yeah, Apple keeps insisting that they're new, and they're not. So, I'm not going to get an iPad. The only way I think I will get an iPad is if it comes with a free Mac Mini. So that's my review, non-review thing against Apple, even though, like I said, I don't care. Apple, Linux, Windows, they are all the same. The only difference is Linux asks for donations. Microsoft and Apple expect to be paid, even though neither of them has done an original thing in 10 years.